Hello everyone, my name is Adam Michael Anthony Simpson and you're watching my YouTube channel, Adam M.A. Simpson. Today we'll be speaking with members of my cohort. The members of my cohort were people that entered Stanford Graduate School with me in the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department on the Environmental Engineering and Science side 4 years ago. Now, some of these members entered with the intention of getting a PhD, others only intended on getting a master's and somehow decided to stay for their PhD. Watch this episode to learn more about these people. I consider all of them my friends, and to learn about their perceived misconceptions of graduate school and things that they'd like to tell themselves when they were entering graduate school if they could.
Hello, everyone. As you know, this is the cohort, actually most of the cohort, and I'm going to start by introducing my cohort and friends to you all, starting with Djordje.
Hello, everyone. Adam, thanks a lot for having us here today. Really excited to share some of my perspectives on the PhD. So my name is Djordje Vuckovic. I go by pronouns he, him, and I work in the same lab as Adam, actually, in Professor Bill Mitch's lab. And also as Jack, who I guess you're gonna hear from soon. I study the mechanism of sunscreen toxicity to sea anemones. So basically we're using sea anemones as a prototype for corals because other studies have shown that certain sunscreens are very toxic to coral reefs. They're introduced by tourists who go and swim there, and then the sunscreen just comes off of them. And so far we've been finding that it's actually the metabolites of sunscreen. So sunscreen goes inside the corals and sea anemones, and it gets metabolized into different compounds. And these new compounds are actually the toxic species. So yeah, I think that's everything from me.
And where do you come from?
Oh, right. So I come from the faraway land of Serbia, though I also consider myself a New Yorker because I did my undergrad in New York and also spent a big chunk of my early young years in New York.
Awesome. And that was Djordje, and moving to Stephen.
Hi, thanks Adam for having us all together. I'm Stephen Galdi, he, him pronouns. I work in a different lab group with Professor Dick Luthi, who does a lot of stormwater and water resource research. My research, a bit of the oddball in our group, I work on wastewater, so sewer water, and that's trying to recover as many resources as we can from that water, because right now it's a big cost for a lot of cities to treat it and disinfect it. But what I'm hoping to do is turn that process into a way to generate energy and maybe generate clean water so we can water our lawns, water our crops, and eventually even resupply our drinking water, all using what usually just goes through the sewers and costs us a bunch of money to dump in the ocean. And I'm originally from Staten Island, New York, so another New Yorker here.
Great. And Stephen, now moving to Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Kogler. I use she, her pronouns. And I guess I'm a bit of an oddball in this group in that I actually work with Dr. Will Tarpe, who's in the chemical engineering department, not in environmental engineering. And my research kind of aligns a little bit with Stephen's research. So I also work on resource recovery from wastewater, but kind of target a different area of that space, I guess. So I look at how we can extract certain components from the wastewater, so specifically nutrients and how we can turn those into valuable products like fertilizer that we can basically use to make money off of wastewater. And I am originally from Austria, but kind of grew up all over the place. So spent a lot of time in Houston and also in Saudi Arabia. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy that you're here, Anna. And now, Jack.
Hey everyone, I am Jacob King, go by Jack. I use he, him pronouns. Like Djordje and Adam, I work in Professor Bill Mitch's group, but we have a very diverse range of projects, so my project is different than both of theirs. So I work on electrochemical treatment of contaminants in water and wastewater, which is basically having an electrical circuit in water and just applying a voltage and a current to electrodes that are submerged in the water that also have these contaminants of concern that are basically attached to them and thereby destroying them. I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yes, Adam went to school at Carnegie Mellon, Pittsburgh as well. And I did my undergrad at Duke University in North Carolina, and I went straight from there to Stanford. And thanks for having us, Adam.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. And last but not least, Conrad.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Adam, for having me on. My name is Conrad Pritchard. I'm working with Dr. Richard Luthi, the same advisor as Stephen, and I work in the same lab space as everyone else. And so my research focuses on stormwater treatment. And so I look at treating stormwater runoff, removing the metal and organic contaminants from stormwater runoff, including a lot of pesticides and herbicides and manufacturing chemicals. I do that using different sand filters amended with different filter materials, including biochar and activated carbon. I am from outside Chicago, the suburb of Downers Grove. Thanks.
Awesome. And that's everyone here today. And now we're going to go into my favorite question for all interviewees, which is what misconceptions of graduate school you'd like to dispel for viewers. Now, this is going to take, more of a open conversation. Some of us here have already prepared some misconceptions they wanted to speak about. So here goes. Djordje, do you want to start?
Sure. So one of the things that I do remember myself actually having not having realized is the fact that you don't have to major in the same thing. You don't have to do a master's and PhD program in the same thing that you did your undergrad in. So I guess the misconception would be that, you have to stay within the constraints of the same field. And basically what I've discovered is that a lot of people do use a graduate program in order to change the field that they're in, to go in a different direction.
Awesome.
In my particular case, sorry, Adam, I did my undergraduate in chemistry, and now I'm applying that knowledge to environmental engineering, which is, I guess, one of the benefits of our field, that it's so multidisciplinary that you actually do meet people here from all different fields.
Yeah, it's the same because like Anna and myself, we both did our undergrad in chemical and then decided to, we were interested in water, and so we went into civil and environmental engineering. And also, Stephen, you did environmental engineering, but it was more agriculture.
Everything.
A bit of everything.
I did soil science research, and now I'm in water.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Might end up coming around full circle because I'm working with soil again.
And in the case of Anna, it also came full circle because she's back in chemical engineering now.
Yeah, I guess that's something important that I would add, I guess. Also, like, just in terms of picking your your major like in your graduate school program, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be like in a lab in that department. Like I work in chemical engineering, but I'm in the environmental engineering program, and there's a lot of crossover like that.
Agreed. And even like going forward, if we're interested in staying in academia, as an environmental engineering PhD, we can actually apply to other fields like Will Tarpey, Anna's advisor, did his PhD in environmental engineering and is now a chemical engineering professor. And the same thing for Bill, in our advisor. He was a chemical engineering professor before coming to Stanford and doing environmental engineering. Stephen, you had a misconception you wanted to speak about?
Yeah, I think, at least for me, like I did my undergrad in environmental engineering, came into grad school looking at the master's degree, and I kind of had this conception of graduate school as just like a linear continuation of what I was doing, and a similar idea about research where there's like this plan, you follow it, and you just kind of tick off check marks as you go along. And turns out that doing a PhD is a lot more nonlinear, where you're just kind of doing whatever project has funding and whatever is like happening at the moment, and then at the end you kind of look back and go, all right, what did I actually learn from all this, and how can I tie it all together into a dissertation, like summarize what it is I've learned. And really the valuable thing along the way is the skills and like the network that you develop in your field, rather than just the milestones within that project that you proposed at the very beginning. Because I think if I look back at what I had proposed like 3 years ago, my project looks very little like that project, but I'm happier for it because I've learned a whole bunch of more interesting skills along the way.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And Jack, you had something you wanted to say as well?
Yeah, it's kind of a couple misconceptions, but based upon who should apply to PhD programs, I would encourage anyone who's even like on the fence or thinking about PhD programs to apply for like a PhD program as opposed to a master's program, because one of the major benefits is PhD is fully funded, or at least in most institutions. And just saying that you're going to apply for a PhD will help garner interest from professors that you might be interested in talking with anyway. So that would be one misconception. And then another is thinking about qualifications for a PhD. My thought is that a lot of people just think about grades and academics. That's one aspect, but there's a lot of qualities that go into a PhD student that are far beyond grades. So even if your grades are okay, if you do research or any other like life experiences, whether you're in a industry beforehand, having a diverse range of experience is important to draw upon as a PhD and as a PhD applicant. So I wouldn't let grades discourage anyone from applying.
So,
and then also, in terms of where you go after a PhD, you don't just have to go into academics. You can use the skills you build in PhD to go into many different directions.
Just to add on to the kind of superficial importance of grades, in retrospect, I would trade a whole point of GPA for just more experience coding and plumbing and soldering, because those are things that I need to learn, whereas all of the coursework I've done over the years doesn't really teach me how to actually do that.
That's so true. I remember in undergrad meeting a PhD student, and the students asked them what courses were the most important to their PhD, and they said it was a speech class. So who knows? I agree. I think emphasizing what Jack said, it's a holistic approach that goes into reviewing an applicant for a PhD. So grades are it's one thing, and we shouldn't say that you should not get good grades, but don't kill yourself over grades. Focus on obtaining skills that will help in your research, like being a part of research in undergrad is a big plus, but not the only thing as well. You can also rely on internships and other skills from, other co-curricular activities, honor societies if you do work outside of school. So yeah, anything else that, and I know Djordje had some more misconceptions he wanted to add.
We have pretty much covered them. I also had written down about the grad school being expensive misconception, where no, it's actually you get paid, you actually get a salary.
Yes.
It's not money that you can really save, but it's enough to live off of comfortably enough for students.
And then, so before we, I guess, start the departure from this cohort talk, is there anything that you would say to yourself in undergrad or even in high school about things to work on or things to not overlook?
I'd probably tell myself take more risks on the projects you do, because a lot of like going through high school and undergrad for me was like, I need good grades, I need to like focus on learning things and getting skills and knowledge, but not a lot of like just trying crazy stuff that I know is not going to work. But you learn a lot more from those experiences than you do from like doing well on an exam. And I think that's something that it took grad school to teach me, versus if you learn that ahead of time, you just can go dive right into a graduate degree if that's what you want to do. And if you don't, same kind of skills will theoretically lead to success in like business, I've heard, but I don't know that one for a fact.
Yeah, just adding on to Steve, I would say don't be afraid of failure. Failure is any failure is actually the opportunity to learn the most.
Yes, I agree with that.
I would add keep developing relationships with like your professors, teachers, people who will help you learn and can help guide you in terms of like next steps that you think you might want to do. Great resources to ask questions about, and also to make learning exciting.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Jack. I think looking back in my experience, I would definitely wish I had talked to more PhD students. I think applying to grad school, a really important aspect of it is the letter of recommendations you get from the faculty. And so really developing that relationship with faculty, I think, is very important. And so just talking to more faculty and talking to PhD students too, and learning about their experience and trying to figure out if you can see yourself in their shoes or if what they do sounds interesting to you. My journey to grad school was a little different from everybody else on the screen. I applied to grad school only thinking I'd do a master's. And then I started doing research and ended up really liking a project and being able to stick on for a PhD. And so I'd recommend also definitely going in, expressing interest for a PhD, even if you're unsure if you want to do a PhD. And just
Oh no, Conrad,
We lost you.
we lost you. You'll come back. But I wanted to add, Anna, also, you were here for the master's, left and worked in industry, and then came back.
Yeah. So I guess I would just add that, like, kind of what Stephen was saying earlier about grad school not being a linear journey. Like, even how you get to grad school might not be linear. Like, I came for the master's, thought I was done, went to work, and didn't enjoy that as much as I thought I would, and really missed, I guess, like being in a lab and doing research. So that's why I came back. And so I guess maybe the advice would be like, definitely like consider grad school, but also like be open to other possibilities. And like if you decide like coming out of undergrad, maybe you want to work for a year or two, there's always the option to come back for grad school later. Of course, like it's a lifestyle adjustment, but it's doable if that's what you want.
Yes. Conrad, did you want to? We lost you.
Yeah, and sorry about that.
It's
How
fine.
far? At what point did you lose me?
It was after you spoke about developing relationships. And does anybody here remember the?
Yeah, Conrad said he suggested applying to PhD programs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even if you're unsure, because it's best to keep your options open, and you might find that you really enjoy doing research, and so definitely explore everything. And then just to echo Anna's point, there's a in a program and who I work with who definitely took time off, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, and went back to pursue their passions. And so don't feel like a graduate school is something you have to do right out of the gate after college, because a lot of people doing that come back, and I think it provides a better perspective actually coming back after a break, because you can really know what you want to focus on.
Yeah, gives you more insight of like what's important in the industry. But I will also say that it does depend on the area of research you're interested in. So I think if you're going into industry and coming back, where it helps is application-based research, I understand. But I mean, I also know people who worked in industry and came back and did pure science research. They just loved research. So I don't know. I think taking time to work in industry before coming back to grad school also allows you to have clarity in your decision and to come back to graduate school, and it probably makes you more happy where you are. Whereas if you go straight to graduate school, you're just thinking of like, what if? Yeah.
The grass is always greener
on the other side. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so I don't want to keep everyone for too long. I think we covered a lot of bases, and we have a lot of content here. So thank you, all of you, for taking part in this cohort video, and I owe you one. Okay.
Thank you for having us, Adam. Look forward to a beer on you.
Of course. Actually, yes. I was thinking like, what do I give you guys? Yes, definitely. Bears on me next time. All right. Bye, everyone. See you.
Thank you for watching this episode featuring members of my cohort. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for next week. I'll be doing a lot of cooking, so I hope you're in for that treat. Stay tuned. Also, please click the like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so that you can help support me and know when I upload a new video. Thank you. See you next week.